Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You caught me mid-pizza there, but it's all over. Okay, Daniel Dubois answers a few questions. He stops Jarrell Miller with only 8 seconds of the fight left. This was a 10-rounder. And I think this is by far Daniel Dubois' best performance. Because Jarrell Miller, regardless of what you think of him, and I have extremely low opinion of him because of his consistent, flagrant and very comprehensive efforts to cheat in the past, he took his beating like a man. And the guy has got a steel jaw because Dubois hits hard. Now, I thought this was Dubois' fight to lose. I thought Dubois would, if he stuck to the jab and he hung everything off the jab and he moved away from the right hand, I thought he could beat Miller. No question about it, excuse me. But for the first 3 rounds, there's no doubt that Miller was putting pressure on Dubois. And as we've said in the past, if you're going to take a guy into deep waters, you've got to make him fight at a pace he doesn't like. You've got to make him use up energy, throw punches for the sake of throwing punches, throw keep me off punches. And for 3 rounds, it seemed as if, even though I gave Dubois those opening 3 rounds, it did seem like Miller was kind of draining his energy. Almost like he was losing the rounds, but possibly winning the fight. Now, I definitely gave Miller the 4th and the 5th round to make it 3-2 to Dubois. But then Dubois got his second wind. And the second half of the fight consisted solely of Daniel Dubois beating the crap out of Jarrell Miller. Because Miller, blood coming from his mouth, huffing and puffing, slower than a mudslide, huffing and puffing between rounds, damage to his face, no cuts. I'll tell you this, he didn't hit the floor, Miller. And again, that is testament to his chin. And there was no quitting in Jarrell Miller. I don't like the guy. I don't think he should be in boxing. Sergio Mora actually said he got the beat down he deserved for all those times he tried to cheat. I tend to agree with that. But he got into that ring, took his beating like a man, and at the end of it, he was very respectful, shook Dubois' hand, said that Dubois is not a quitter. I think Dubois has answered some real important questions in this fight. Because if he really was a quitter, he could have bailed out after 3-4 rounds in the sense that he could have just said, I'm losing this fight, the hell with the game plan, I'm just going to try and keep him off and hope for the best. But he stuck to the game plan and he worked through the fatigue until he got his second wind against a guy, 333 pounds, who was rumbling, trundling towards him and looking really imposing for the first 5 rounds. The ascendancy was with Miller after 5 rounds, but then Dubois stayed cool. He's got Don Charles in his corner, and I think Don Charles, I've said before in previous videos, is a good match for Daniel, because Daniel, he's got that sort of air of a little boy about him, someone who needs a father figure in the corner, and Don Charles has that type of demeanour. The tactics were great, stick to the jab. Dubois was constantly pumping the jab. When he got in close, he wasn't trying to push Miller off because, of course, that would have used up, unnecessary energy. He was really sticking to the game plan of bang, bang with a jab, punching to the body very, very well, throwing good uppercuts occasionally. Maybe could have fired a few more uppercuts. And he fought at a really high pace for almost 10 rounds. I mean, Dubois' gas tank can't be doubted now. Okay, in the second half of the fight, he had this sort of waddling punch bag in front of him. But nevertheless, sometimes you can get knackered from throwing so many punches, and Daniel insisted on continually throwing punches. I was very, very impressed with the way he fought this fight against a guy who was, when all is said and done, was an unknown entity. Because how did we know what Miller was going to come in? If he's clean, if he's fought a clean fight with no pharmaceutical, influences, then again he showed a great chin and a very good gas tank actually. But at 3:33, what's he going to do? Come on, man. I mean, he's no spring chicken either. This is probably the end of Jarrell Miller at the highest level. But you never know. He trash talks well. He can be very, very funny in interviews. And Daniel, who's the polar opposite, he's proved he can fight. And I don't just mean box. He's certainly proved he can box, but he also proved he can fight and walk through fatigue. And I'm someone who never blamed him for bailing out against Joyce. The Usyk thing was a bit more shaky. But you live and learn, you know. You can. I remember Nigel Benn essentially quitting against Michael Watson in his first defeat, going over from a jab because he was exhausted, getting up at 9.5, and the referee waved it off, and Ben didn't complain. He actually walked over to Watson and hugged him. So sometimes you can learn from being all at sea and out of sorts and essentially quitting, and then you can come back. And Daniel Dubois is still a very young heavyweight. I was impressed with his performance. I was impressed with how he handled it mentally, psychologically, as well as physically. He handled it very, very well against an opponent who could easily have walked him down and stopped him. So kudos to Daniel Dubois. And you know what? I'm going to say it. Jarrell Miller took his beating like a man, so fair play to you as well. Regardless of what I think of you and your past, you took it like a man. And I respect that enormously. So what did you think? Leave your comments below. Are you surprised by the way in which Dubois stopped Miller in the final round? Less than 10 seconds to go, he stopped him. Yeah, give me your opinions. I'll read through them, answer as many as I can. Thank you for your time as always. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button. And I'll catch you later. More to come. The day of reckoning. See you later. Bye for now.